Yeah. Check. Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursue.
I say to you that our goal is freedom, and I believe we are going to get there, because however much she strays away from it, the goal of America is freedom. Abused and scorned though we may be as a people, our destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. Welcome to Anti-Media Radio, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, S.M. Gibson. I am not joined in the studio tonight by my usual co-host, Dedric Young, but we are joined by the absolutely brilliant Thunderbird.
Pleasure to be here.
So today, January the 15th, 2015, is the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes, indeed. Dr. King would have been 86 today. He was so sadly assassinated in 1968. He was 39 years old.
I made sure to open the show tonight with the words of Dr. King. And you know what? I would really, before we get into everything that's going on with the Paris attacks and with everything, I would really like to get into talking about the death of Dr. King and that whole situation. You know, so many people tell me, you know what, that was a long time ago, SM. You know, that happened in 1968. That's not the same world we live in now. Mm-hmm. The thing that scares me is, oh, don't worry about it. You know, so what if the government did it? What if they didn't do it? It doesn't matter. You know, it does matter. Yeah, because you're talking about the United States government, you know, to most people, possibly killing and covering up the death of a United States citizen that had committed no crime.
And with malicious intent. The intent was to destroy legacy, and while at the same time trying to uplift or make themselves look better in the process by creating or having a statue in King's memory. But at the same time, you know, what happened to the actual in-flesh embodiment of Dr. King himself? You know, a lot of people, it leads us to question whether or not the government, to what extent at least, they had to do with the assassination.
See, and what we're going to do is we are going to kind of go over some of the facts of the situation with everybody tonight and talk about a little bit, just here at the beginning of the show, about how King, I believe for 100%, was killed by the United States government. You can say that's conspiracy. Well, we're going to give you some facts to dispute all that. Let's start with William Pepper. He wrote a book. He was the attorney for James O'Ray, along with a few others. He had attorneys. He claimed in a book that he had written that the 20th Special Forces Group, which came over here maybe 5 miles from where we're sitting right now at the National Guard Armory on a Porta Madrid Boulevard, where the shooters came from. Now, let me go back a little bit before we really dive into that. I was, it's probably been 7, 8 years now. Maybe a little longer than that, actually. Well, I'll start off by saying this. My father told me 15, 20 years ago that he believes, you have to remember, being in Birmingham, that the gun was bought at Air Marine on the Porta Madrid Boulevard, which is definitely within 5 miles from where we're sitting right now, where the gun that the government says killed King was bought from. That's all, on record. So it started out with my dad telling me, being in Birmingham and where a lot of this transpired and went up towards Memphis, that he believed that the shooters came from the armory. He said he didn't really know why. He didn't really have the facts behind that, but he had deduced it from everything that he had heard through the years, that it had basically been an order from the FBI, and that he felt that J. Edgar Hoover had planted in some people's ears, which, it wasn't even a plant. This was going around the country, that King was a communist. And that's what it wanted everybody to think, that he was a communist, and he was going to help take over the country. So let me fast forward a little bit. So then about 8, 9 years ago, whatever it was, person that I had used to work with, he was much older than me. He was in his late 20s when all this had transpired. He actually played basketball over at Shades Valley. And he was recruited by Mississippi State, was in the state of Mississippi, and was recruited by the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, so he told me that he said that I told him the theory that my dad had, and he looked me in the eyes and he said, "I'll tell you this much: your dad's a very, very smart man." Wow. And so I was like, "Well, can you tell me more?" So he wouldn't, and so we went back and forth over a few weeks over this whole situation, and finally he said, "I'll tell you this: the people that killed King were Green Berets stationed at the National Guard Armory, and actually what it was the 20th Special Forces Group stationed right down the street from here." Wow. And I said, "Well, can you tell me who they were, blah, blah, blah." He said, "No, I'm not telling you that." So then I was like, "Well, where did it come from?" And he looked me in the eyes, and it was chilling, and I'll never forget this. He looked me in the eyes and says, "I'll say this much. J. Edgar Hoover is the second most powerful person on this planet next to God. And I want you to remember that when you think about what happened to Dr. King." Wow. Yeah. That's some heavy stuff. And he implicated that these people were also in the Klan. Were in the and when you think about some of the things you talked about in terms of just the conversations, the amount of evidence that we have, knowing that the gun did actually come from the armory. Well, it came from Air Marine, which was bought. He bought the gun at the end of the late March '68, like 29th, 30th. And he returned it the next day, saying it wasn't powerful enough, which would make you believe that why would he go in there and buy a gun and then turn around a day later and say, "Wait, it's not powerful enough"? You would think that there was somebody said, "Wait, this isn't what we need." But what a level of hatred that you have to have for a person or a group of people to actually to scheme up on a terrible assassination like that, and for people to know for years and years, just goes to show the level of vitriol, hatred, and despair that sits at the heart of some people, not everybody, but in particular our government. Absolutely. To want to destroy the legacy of this, the pillar of community in the South. This guy wasn't, in my opinion, he wasn't not a threat. His whole
thing was about justice and peace, and having equal rights for the human race, for all of mankind. So it just, to me, it just speaks to a level of hatred and vitriol, because we toggle around with the subject, and knowing this information that we, having this information that we have, and knowing what we know, all the facts that we do know, and knowing that James Earl Ray is just a name. That name is just something that's been put out there, unfortunately, to cover up, the truth and of what's really going on.
And that's what I want to get into. Okay, so I covered the hearsay stories that you hear around this town.
Right.
Now I want to take it more into kind of some more facts.
Fact-based.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So we have William Pepper, which I was talking about earlier, that was the attorney for James Earl Ray.
Right.
He claimed in a book that, yes, the gunman did come from exactly where I was told the gunman came from, right down the street.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so multiple high-ups in the military came out and said, "Oh, no, this is not true.
Right.
None of this is true." So they sued him, and they sued his publisher, and they actually won.
Mm-hmm.
And stating that, well, it didn't come, from a Port of Madrid, even though
we're dealing with semantics a little bit.
right. So let's follow up. There's actually quite a few here. We've got Dexter King, which was King's youngest son. It was his third oldest child. He had 4 kids.
Exactly. Right.
But okay,
and no grandkids, and that's.
I believe the third just last few years. I think they have a child on the way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that for me is good, because at least in that regard, I mean,
right.
The legacy lives on.
But we've got Dexter King in 1995 sits down with James Earl Ray, and he looks him in the eyes, and this is verbatim here. "I just want to ask you, for the record, did you kill my father?" James Earl Ray looks at him and says, "No, I did not." And this is Martin Luther King's child's response to this. "I just want you to know that I believe you, and my family believes you, and we are going to do everything in our power to try and make sure that justice will prevail."
Oh, wow.
That is coming from Martin Luther King's child.
Wow.
Okay, let's follow this up with, in 1975, there was a congressional investigation that said, and I quote, this was the congressional hearings, this is what they had deduced at the end of it. From December 1963 until 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was the target of an intensive campaign by the Federal Bureau of Investigation to neutralize him as an effective civil rights leader.
Oh.
So that comes from Congress in 1975, tying the FBI to King.
Neutralizing, quote unquote, neutralizing.
Right.
You got to listen to the context.
That's the verbiage.
The verbiage that they use. Exactly.
So, we also have, in 1998, a wrongful death lawsuit was filed. The hearings, it was actually filed by William Pepper, James Earl Ray's lawyer.
Right.
But it was filed on behalf of the King family. I don't know, I don't believe that if Johnny Cochran were still alive, he would be filing a wrongful death suit on Nicole Brown Simpson.
Right, exactly. That would be sort of the center. That would be sort of the equivalent.
Right, exactly. That'd be more the modern day equivalent of this. But he filed, a wrongful death suit on behalf of King's family. And what happened was 12-0. It came back that it was, in fact, wrongful death. The United States government in-trial wrongful death suit came back and said that the government was involved. Dexter King, again, said the following statement. He was asked by a reporter, "There are many people out there who feel that as long as these conspirators remain nameless and faceless, there is no true closure and justice." And this goes back to the trial. It was King versus Jowers. It was Lloyd Jowers. He had a hotel down the street from from the Lorraine Motel. But this goes back, and he implicated that who the shooter was. It was a lieutenant for the Memphis police.
Oh wow!
So this is
all. I mean,
this is all
factual.
Right.
We want to be clear. This is not
right. This is no conspiracy. This is no hearsay. This is all completely factual, pointing the finger that the United States government was involved in the death of Martin Luther King.
Right.
And it, you know, you say get over it, and it happened a long time ago. Well, it's important because it shows intent that the government will kill people, and that translates to where we're living today. Not only will they kill people, they'll lie to you.
They'll lie to you.
So, Dexter King, his youngest son, said, "No, Mr. Jowers did name the shooter. The shooter was the Memphis Police Department officer, Lieutenant Earl Clark, who he named as the killer. Once again, beyond that you had credible witnesses that named members of a special forces team," which goes back to Porto Madrid, "who didn't have to act because the contract killers succeeded with plausible deniability, a mafia contracted killer with Lieutenant Earl Clark from the Memphis Police Department."
Right.
Now, what we know is that Lloyd Jowers did implicate that it was Lieutenant Clark that pulled the trigger. Okay, now, you know, we know that from that one testimony, and the King family, at least the youngest son, seems to think that that's very possible.
Right.
But what we do know, from all the stories we've heard tonight, from a guy I worked with years ago, to James Earl Ray's lawyer, to King's own child, they've all implicated a special forces team, which was the 20th Special Forces on the Porto Madrid Boulevard.
Right.
So, nobody, when James Earl Ray died, Martin Luther King III, which Yolanda was the oldest,
right.
But Martin King III was the second oldest child. He was his oldest son. His quote was, when James Earl Ray died, "We certainly send our condolences to the Ray family. At this time, although Ray is deceased, we do still believe that there is enough information that if a thorough job is done, we can only hope and pray that the truth one day emerges."
One day.
So what he's saying is the truth hasn't come out yet.
Right.
So we have it in government court in 1999. We have a congressional hearing in 1975. We have his own children. What more do you need?
But the government, but they will continue to look you and me in the face and tell us both that is one thing when it's really another. And in the books, in the context, in the print, the text, and even the media, what you see on the television, it will always be remembered as assassination done by James Earl Ray, taken out by but we will never, unfortunately for us at this point, at least, in 2015, we're talking about 38 years later, that unfortunately for us, the truth hasn't come forth. It hasn't prevailed in this situation, not yet. But what a shame for a great legacy, and that's more so what I'm hitting on is that for a legacy to take that kind of hit and to be assassinated, all for someone else's gain or for the government's gain in particular, is as egregious as it gets. It's what a shame.
And I think I hit on this.
He will be remembered today as in my opinion, the greatest American to ever live. You got to understand.
I will say it's. To me, because I think it's more of the modern era, and we have him on tape and we have him on video. For me, it's probably my personal hero. But you know what? I don't know how people before him behaved. I know Andrew Jackson did some good stuff, and I don't know.
That's true.
But for the modern era, I agree with you.
Yes,
but the problem that I really have, and I've hit on this before here on the show, and we were talking about this before we came on tonight, is I'm so offended by the fact that the federal government has statues of this man up. It offends me.
Right, right.
Because how dare you try to capitalize off this propaganda, and you're basically politicizing the man's name, and you're going to use it for your own benefit when you had him killed. Like, you had the man killed, and you're going to go throw up a statue like, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's all good.
And
we put a bullet in his brain at the Lorraine Motel on April the 4th, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee, while he was going out to get dinner.
Right. And don't worry,
Don't worry about it. We put a statue up.
Right.
Give me a break.
Yeah, that's what a joke.
Absolutely. And, we've got really, what has the civil rights movement amounted to since he died?
Well,
it's fallen apart.
Well, I don't know. I seem to disagree just a tad bit on that. It's fallen apart in terms of you won't see the marches that you once saw, and I don't.
We have seen marches lately.
Well, we have. You won't see the march that you once saw.
Right.
You won't see that kind of leadership on the ground. Those kind of troops on the front line. You got to keep in mind. You won't see that kind of that kind of legacy. The King. The King legacy, the Muhammad Ali's of the world, the Dr. King. You won't see too many of those again. But just let me say this real quick. That legacy, in terms of the civil rights movement, is still with us today. Because when you look at it in terms of some of the things we have now, having Barack in office. It's not the equivalent of Dr. King, but I don't know if you would have that if you don't have Dr. King.
No, I do agree
You don't
with
have that kind of progression. Whether or not you like Brother Barack or not, and I have my concerns with him myself. Whether or not you like him, we can admit that epicenter of the civil rights movement has brought us to this point.
It has, but I think a lot of it became off the politicalization of his name after he was dead.
No question. So the point I'm trying to make is this. So it brings us to this point, Brother Essom. At least we can come to this conclusion. So you have the civil rights movement, and now you have this thing now where everything is being media driven. Everything is what you see on the social media feeds, what you see on the television, and that sort of thing.
What you see on social media is not exactly what you see on CNN, Fox News, or MSNBC.
It's not, and that's a good point. So. The civil rights movement it will lose steam in regards that you won't see the leadership on the front line, on the ground truth. Like you saw King doing some of the marches and having some of the speeches, but galvanized, we will stay in the community, and that sort of thing, and that comes out of the civil rights context where you have that kind of leadership still in the community.
But here's the situation too. Let's look at the protests we've had since Eric Garner. Let's look at the Ferguson protests.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not think that they suffered because there was not a true leader in front of them? You've got people like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson that want to show up. Look, Jesse Jackson showed up at Ferguson. There's a video of him that got pretty popular on YouTube of a guy walking up to him while he's in the drive-thru, just being like, "What are you doing here, dude? Get out. Get out. We don't need you here. You don't stand for us. You don't stand for the people. You're here to make money off of us. Get out."
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, there's really, Nancy Grace brought on 2 Chainz the other night, and basically, he's speaking for the black community. It's like, first off, you don't bring up Jeffrey Dahmer to speak for the white community just because he has white skin. But they turn it on the media that just because somebody has black skin, you're speaking for the whole black community. That's a joke. That's an absolute joke.
Well, that is, and on the lighter side, if I was Brother 2 Chainz, I like 2 Chainz music, but maybe he ought to stick to.
He actually put it to her. They're talking about weed.
Well, maybe he ought to stick to. Maybe he should stick to the. I like some of his lyrics, though, guys. The Top Back song. I like that. I like that song. But
I'm going to stick with Tupac and Bone, and we can disagree on 2 Chainz.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I didn't see that interview. I'm glad I didn't. But no, you're right. your skin complexion doesn't allow for you to speak for an entire community.
No,
it doesn't allow for you to speak for an entire group of people.
But the media turns it into that.
It turns it into that, yeah, because the idea
and Fox turns it into with they'll bring out they've got Judge Janine. They've got this black lady on Fox News, and she is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's crazy. She just sits there and screams, "Bomb them, bomb them, bomb them, bomb them!" Like she just wants to kill all Middle Eastern people. It's like.
That is,
it's insane.
I got to check her out. I haven't seen her.
She's crazy. And you've got Ben Carson, who they will out. And you know what? I'm still on the fence about Ben Carson. Sometimes he really says some stuff. I'm like, that guy's got it figured out. And then sometimes he says some stuff. I'm like, I don't know about that.
No. Look.
But anybody that's trying to be a politician, I'm pretty much against from the get-go.
Ben Carson. No. But let me tell you something.
I can tell you that.
Let me tell you about Ben Carson. Let me tell you what I think about Ben Carson.
Tell me about it.
This is just me off the rip. This is look, Ben. First of all, if you don't care for Barack, President Barack, our president, and Barack does have some good things. President Obama has some decent things. And I know the concerns, but I'm saying that if you're concerned with President Obama,
I didn't say I was voting for Ben Carson.
I was just about to say that if you're concerned with President Obama, please, and I know you didn't say that. I know. SM, for our viewers, SM did not. He did not go there. But
that's what Fox News wants.
We're talking about a staunch Republican, and not only that, this guy started off in medicine.
Right.
His views are not for or won't be for the majority of the people. I mean, this guy started off.
But I will
has a background, and we're talking about the elite of the elite in medical background.
But look at this. When was the last time we had a true politician that wasn't a lawyer? Do we all want lawyers representing us? Because they're all lawyers.
Well, I mean,
every single one.
If you start getting to that level of transparency,
except Bush, he was a cokehead.
Well, if you start getting to that level of transparency, then why don't we just hire? Why don't we hire anybody to be the next guy, the next president? Why don't we go? Why don't we start going? Why don't we go from law to medicine? Back over to sports and how
Charles Barkley,
Jerry Jones. I don't know about either one of those, but I mean, Ben Carson, he's not.
But what I'm saying, the point is they wheel him out there and basically make him the spokesperson of all black people. That's kind of where that point came from.
Right.
That's what Fox is doing.
Well, that's what the Republican Party wants to do. They want to put Ben Carson in the forefront. And say, hey.
But liberals did that with Obama.
They did, and that's my point. If you don't care for Obama, then there's no way you can care for.
But here's the situation, and I know we agree with this. The media. It's everything comes from the media. Like all the narratives come from the media, and they paint everything as such a white and black issue. It's this black person. It really offends me. I saw a story ran the other day. Somebody got robbed and it was an African American. That was in the story, and I was just like, who cares? Who cares? What does this matter? We're all human beings.
Right.
I don't care the shade, the tone of his skin. You can leave that adjective out. I get that you're a journalist and you're trying to get extra words put in there, but I don't need that adjective.
Well, that's my point. I feel the same way about Dr. Ben Carson. The same way.
He's a person. Right. He doesn't represent you.
Right, exactly, and no question. I have no question.
Just like George Bush doesn't represent me.
But it's just like I hate to go here. But it's just like our dear governor now. I mean, see the same thing. See, for me, I wouldn't look at the complex or the color of somebody's skin and say, oh, well, you know what, the color of skin. Those things don't matter to me. But I mean, if you are for the people, or if you want to represent a group of people or your constituents, then don't come from a background of medicine. Have a bunch of lobbyists put you in the forefront and say, well, you know what, he's the next best politician.
That's what they did with Obama, and you know it.
Well, that's my point. That's what they did. That's what they did with Obama, and now it's being
everybody.
But now it's being marginalized because he's a black man. But it happens.
Oh.
It happens across. It happens across racial
Obama
lines
being a
also.
scumbag has nothing to do with the color of his skin. It
Well-
has to do with the content of his character.
That's those are harsh words. That's what I'm saying. I choose to find some of the good in Brother Barack.
I don't.
But what I'm saying,
I hate people equally.
equally.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying though. Well, I mean, guess what? With our president now, and if he got the Republican nominee,
Ben Carson's never going to get elected in 1,000 years, and this is a waste of time of conversation. It's never going to happen.
I promise you, I remember a guy saying that before our President Barack Obama.
No. Listen, it all goes back to money, and the reason Obama really got elected is because he had $1 billion behind him.
He did have a lot of money. He did have a lot.
Well, there was a lot. Well, he didn't personally, but there was a lot of money behind him that got him elected, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Hillary Clinton made some people mad, and the power structure of all that. The next president will be a Republican, and more than likely their last name is going to be Bush. And more than likely everyone listening to this show, we should all just move to Costa Rica.
And at that point, I'm working on that now. At that point, I want to have my options.
Exactly. But listen, let's say that the election is between a Clinton and a Bush. Mm-hmm. A Clinton and a Bush. Mm-hmm. You tell me this country hadn't been overthrown? That's crazy. You're going to give us at least give us a different last name.
Yeah, that's true. Ain't that the truth?
I mean, don't just spit in our face.
One thing I will say is this, though, and I'm just off the record saying this. I'm halfway kidding, but I'm halfway serious. The Republicans, you said at least have a different last name. They all work. They got some stuff up there, and the Democrats also.
It's the same.
It's the same thing. But what I'm saying is that they have some tricks up their sleeve where
they all are the same.
They all do SM. What I'm saying is that I've seen some stories lately. Lately that has.
Okay, let's talk about some stories lately. Let's talk about Barack Obama and his great promise to label genetically modified foods. Has that happened yet? Give me a word. No, it hasn't. Let's talk about him closing Guantanamo Bay. Has that happened yet? No, it hasn't. Let's talk about Barack Obama getting us out of Afghanistan, which he promised in 2012 when he was running against Mitt Romney and said by 2014 we'd be out of Afghanistan. It's 2015. Are we out of Afghanistan? No, we aren't. Let's talk about getting out of Iraq. He promised we'd get out of Iraq. Not only did we really never leave because he left private contractors there and left that huge embassy overseas, he pulled us out to say that we got out of Iraq. But guess what? We're back in there because of ISIS. And then we're going into Syria. And we're about to go into war with Yemen. So the Peace Prize president has been bombing people right and left all over the world.
Yeah.
It's not Democrat. It's not Republican.
No.
It's a joke. It's not
Democrat. It's not Republican. I'm speaking.
And we're the butt of it.
I'm speaking in terms of the next ones in line. The next group. They won't be. It won't be Clinton. The point is that it won't be a Clinton or a Bush. And all those are fat points, by the way. I mean, it's not like. I mean, those are some of my concerns with them also. So, just to let our viewers know. I have some concerns with Peace President, who is known for bombing countries, innocent people, innocent brothers and sisters left and right, and so those things bother me. But what I'm saying is that he's not the only one who will pee on your shoes and tell you it's raining outside. I mean, it's happening across.
You're absolutely right.
It's happening across political lines.
No. You've missed the point, though. But see, because I think you're still seeing things as there's Republicans and then there's Democrats. But what you need to understand is there's no difference. No, there's difference in rhetoric. They do say different things. I get that. And and the things they are different on are very kind of marginal, but they do say different things. But when they're in office, let's look at George Bush spying on the United States, with the Patriot Act. Let's talk about Obama, and what he said about the Patriot Act,
Right.
He was way against the Patriot Act, which was fantastic. I'm massive, because that's 1984, that's George Orwell, is the Patriot Act.
Right.
And you've got Obama saying it's horrible, it's horrible, it's horrible. Okay, so then he gets in office and he signs a bill to reinstate it. Mm-hmm. So basically, you're no different. Just because, look, they run and say things, and TV and people in the community want you to think, well, this person did this, well, this person did this person did this. Let's point fingers, let's point fingers, let's point fingers. We all do need to point fingers. We all need to collectively come together as a community of people, the people, and point our fingers in the direction of all the politicians and say, you have screwed us all.
I agree, SM, and no, don't get me wrong. The point about being one or the other, I mean, look, they both have their flaws.
They are both huge flaws.
No, they're both flawed, and I'm not. This is not for one, because I have some liberal views, I have some conservative views.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is that and guess what, man? And this is what I'm starting to learn more and more as I get older and older, is that even the brothers and sisters in the hood have some. They don't even know it, but some have some liberal views and some have some conservative views.
That's a different beast altogether.
But if you go to the parks, if you go to the suburbs, the trailer parks, everybody has some people have some liberal views, and some they may hide behind closed doors and try to put it to me and you like, oh, because I stay over in this part, or if I stay in that part, I'm one way or the other. But that's not always the case.
Let's look at Charles Barkley, for example. All right, he's a guy from right down the street.
I mean, you talking about Charles? You mentioned President Barack. The president father. I mean, Charles Barkley. I don't even want to discuss Barkley right now.
No, here's the example that I'm trying to say. I'm just going to use it as an example because you brought up people in the hood, and you know as well as I do, there's certain people in the hood, and that's why I mentioned Barkley. There's certain people in the hood that if you express...
I'm so disgusted with Barkley right now.
It doesn't matter. He was a basketball player. It's irrelevant. But what I'm saying is an example. Stephen A. Smith, the same thing happened with him. Okay? The example is, you know as well as I do that if certain people in the hood say certain things, or certain people with a certain shade of skin, the peer pressure comes down on top of them, calling them an Uncle Tom. And you know that happens.
Okay.
Because you have a certain belief. And you better completely cling hold to the community and say, we all need this together.
No, that's not always. I disagree with that now. That's not always the case because, you have a job. But guess what? You have a job. You have a job and a duty. You have a fiduciary duty to care about where you come from. But at the same time, you got to tell it like it is. Now I know what you're saying. If you don't say this or if you don't say that, you're going to be viewed a certain way. But guess what? In my position, man, you know what? Some people need to get their act together, and so that's not always That's not always true. Because, some people may feel that way. Well, you know what, I got to say this way because I have a voice in the community. Certain people depend on me to say certain things. But at the same time, you know me for quite some time now. My theory is this. I have a job and a duty to tell it how it is.
Right.
Okay? And at the end of the day, that's my number one priority. I'm going to tell it how it is, and my theory is that in order to get change, you got to be about change. That's the only way. You got to look at.
But here, okay, let's talk about this though. Race is such a big issue, and I think it's such an irrelevant, stupid issue. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's such a stupid issue. Because let's pretend for a second everybody's the same race on the planet. Everybody, okay? Everybody's got the same color skin, right?
Right.
You're going to all of a sudden find differences in somebody. Well, you got red hair, or you got black hair, or you got brown hair.
Exactly, right.
They're going to pick out differences. It's human nature. Because, look, there were people that used to make Pollock jokes about Polish people, right? They find something, whether it be where you're from, or certain different. You got brown eyes, you got blue eyes. It's so stupid that the human race is divided because of the shade of your skin. It's insane to me.
Well, it is insane.
It's insane. No, but it's the same thing. What you're saying is like, and people give Barack a hard time. Well, you know what? You didn't stand up for black people. No, Barack Obama didn't stand up for people.
Right.
At all. He killed some people overseas, and he didn't stand up for anybody in this country.
Right.
That's my problem with that man. I don't give a shit about these little set groups of communities. We're all here. We're all human beings.
Right.
You know, we should all live together. We should all have the same opportunities. Everything should be the same. We should all have the same freedoms.
Right.
And it's this kind of gang mentality, basically. Whether you're in a trailer park and we're all just shooting our shotguns, or you're down in Gate City being a thug, listening to Lil Wayne.
Right.
It's all this gang mentality, and everybody's got to get over that. We're all the same thing.
And there's it's no question. Now, part of that comes, but then too. So you make some good points. So what you're talking about is social divide. So all of those things become relevant when we all familiar with each other. We all can kind of know what, if I know where you come from and you familiar with where I come from, then it doesn't always happen like that, does it?
No.
And very few times do you get an opportunity to see the hood and what a grilled cheese. But very few times do I get an opportunity to see where you come from, also.
Right.
And so that's the problem with that. And I can understand people saying, you know what, at the end of the day, the color of someone's skin, it doesn't play a big role in what we're trying to get done every day when we're trying to,
It doesn't.
Yeah.
But it does because of the media and peer pressure.
But peer pressure, right. The peer pressure, that's the point you're
From the
making about
community.
from the community.
Right.
Is that peer pressure does come across, it does come across the lines.
Right, absolutely.
It's very real. It's very real.
Right, and I feel like there's probably a lot of people and I think because...
In particular in the black community,
I think it's worse in the black community because I think if a white person says, I don't like George Bush, you don't automatically think, I've turned my back on my race. But for you to sit here and go, I don't like Barack Obama, I think there is a portion of the black community that goes, you turned your back on your race.
Well, that's the part I disagree with you about.
I do think there's a percentage that
There's
thinks that.
there's a percentage that think that. No, that is true. That's true. SM, that's true. But on one hand, you say it's true. But on the other hand, what about the fact that on the media outlets right now, you don't have many brothers. You don't have many black guys in media outlets. They got Alex, but you know what I mean. Though.
As we speak, he's on our TV.
Well, I mean, but you know the point I mean. You don't have many who are in positions who have a voice,
right?
And so, but at the same time, I mean, you turn.
But what you're talking about
now.
goes back to gang mentality. Everything you're talking about goes back to gang mentality, and here's a problem too, because the answer is not what we have. Because you're saying we need more black people on TV. No, we need more people that aren't biased towards anyone.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
We need people without anybody.
What I mean by, but what I'm saying is that some people may want you to have a voice because they feel like they are voiceless.
Absolutely.
Okay, so not necessarily saying you need more. We just had one of very great in the media relations business, and a great brother, not brilliant. I mean, he was one of the first guys I remember seeing back in 1992, and that's Stuart Scott. I mean, who just passed away. A week ago.
He seemed pretty sharp.
Same. He was.
I never met him. That's why I say same.
Yeah, exactly. I know, but I mean, from a distance, I could see that a lot of people want to be like him. So my point is that
he seemed no.
My point is that he stood for not only he stood for a whole generation of people who wanted to be like him. People wanted to see him on television.
But nobody. I don't think. But here's the thing, though. And I think this is the point. Like, I don't think people saw Stuart Scott and said, there's this black dude doing this. I think they saw him and goes, wow, there's a really great guy that's a commentator that's just bringing it.
Well,
he was, when somebody, okay, it's like King, okay? I came up with no money, right?
Right.
So I look at the way King presented his issues as saying he's representing the lower class, the poor people, which is really what got him in trouble there at the end after the Civil Rights Bill passed, at the sanitation, speech. He was really speaking up for white and black and saying poor people.
Right.
And so I identify with a person with a different color skin more than I do with people of my own color skin because really he shares my same beliefs.
The belief system.
And that's, and that's why I think this whole division of how you, or this or that or whatever, it's, that everything like saying protect the black community or protect the white community, that's all Hitler. That's all what Hitler was based on. You better be blonde hair, blue eyed, or nothing else.
Yeah, well, that's
right.
True. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you are or what you've been through. It's all about people and your beliefs.
But let me ask you this though: for a community of people, for a group of people that for so long, in many cases, whether you are poor or come from being disenfranchised, nameless, no jobs with the living wage, no matter what community you come from, at some point when, you've been done so wrong for so long, at some point, you begin,
I'm with you on this.
You begin to say, who is speaking for us?
Listen, I'm with you on this because I'll tell you right now, I'm with you on this. I've seen, being from Alabama, and you drive out into the country and you see some of the conditions.
Of course.
You see some of the conditions that black people lived in. And we're not talking about, no, I didn't get a job or you looked at me the wrong way. We're talking about real conditions, like the way things really used to be.
Well, I mean, just not just black, but black and white. That's the thing. It cuts across racial lines.
And what's funny about it is, like, me as a white person, okay, my family grew up. You think my family owned slaves? Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
No. I don't say I wish because that sounds horrible, but I wish my family had the affluence that I had money and grew up. No, we had nothing. Poor.
Right.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my family, they were just barely sharecroppers at that in Cleveland, Alabama, barely hanging on, growing stuff. But what I'm saying is it's like you see the atrocities that have happened to black people in the South. More than all these liberals want to get on TV and talk about it. I've seen them. And you know what? Here's the answer to that. The answer is don't raise the black community up. The answer is start treating all humans fairly. Treat everyone the same.
Right.
Everyone deserves a fair shot. Stop looking at anyone and judging them. Don't leave someone to die, because I can tell you, going out in West Alabama towards Mississippi, you see communities that are dying. And they're mostly black communities.
Right.
And it's sad, and it makes you very, 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 very emotional. And, they've left people out there in these communities. It's like, we all need to be the same.
Well, there's no question. When you say mostly one or the other, that's where see for me at least, when you say mostly one or the other, where if you're saying that most communities who may be black or white,
but I think
and come from and that may be true. That may be true, but there are a lot of all races. I mean, even Latin community, Mexican community, there are a lot of all races, and in particular, when you look at the African American race, there are some. There are a lot because of the history in the South, and we're going back.
Absolutely,
we're going back into the deep South, into some of the history. But at the same, when you say in particular one race or another, then we start saying, well, if this race has been disenfranchised more than the other, then they need someone has to have a voice for the people.
Boom. The people. That's the word. The people. You just said the word. There doesn't need. Everybody has. Look.
Well, you can't lead the people if you don't love the people. You can't save the people if you don't serve the people.
You're right. But listen,
so you have to. So it's got to be some level of love and service.
But it's the way Dr. King works. There was love and there was service, and he didn't see color, and he helped everybody of every race. That's what my point is. You can't have somebody get up there on a platform and say, I'm going to help this community. I don't give a shit if you're white. I don't give a shit if you're black. I don't care. You can't say, I want to help this community. What you need to say is, I want to help all communities. I want to help everyone grow and prosper, because that's what a free society is.
That's no question.
And nobody should be left behind. Nobody.
Right, no question. Nobody should. No one should.
And I understand that there's so much going on, that there are so many people above us, and you know what? You know, the rich are the rich are the rich are the rich. They don't give a shit about your color or my color. All they see is we are
It's
poor.
money.
Yeah, they don't care.
Dollar signs. You know.
So it all.
But I will say this. That leads me to my final point.
Okay.
So we've addressed the state of socialism to a certain degree, and poor communities, both black and white, but they only see what they're worth. They only see what that's the dollar signs, and so in the poor communities,
That's human nature.
well, both black or white, Latino or or brothers and sisters from the Middle East, we all have to start trading from within, trading with each other, and that's something that attacks
There you
some
go.
of these
And that
issues.
goes back to the point of everything we talk about. Listen, community.
Mhm.
We have to get back to community. We have to get away from these corporations. We have to get away from this very thug mentality of
Mhm.
we're your masters,
Mhm.
whether it's McDonald's, whether it's Monsanto,
Right, yeah.
whether it's the United States government, whether it's Halliburton.
And I'm all for
communities.
I'm all for the organic growing. When I say trading with each other, the
But
organic,
we're talking
vegetable
true
community.
organic, just straight from
Yeah,
community.
from
Whether
community,
you're talking,
yeah.
whether you're making soap, so you're making food.
Food, soap, the whole thing. So those are things, and I think what I think. I do believe this. I think America will undergo a revolution over the next, and we're going through it now. But I think you will see a full revolution over the next 5 years. Where you see that kind of commitment now. That's the word, commitment from everyday people.
I hope so, but I tell you, this is my fear. My fear is you're going to, and we've repeated the cycle multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to put a Republican in office in 2016, which I guarantee is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of these people
I hope
are going
that's
to.
wrong.
No, my hope is nobody gets elected in 2016. But what's going to happen is there going to be a Republican put in office, and which will happen, I guarantee it. And people are going to sit back on their hands and go, "Well, we got Barack out, everything's going to be all right now."
Right.
And it's like, no, it's not. It's going to be exactly the same.
Same.
It's going to be exactly the same as it was with Barack Obama, and it's going to be exactly the same as it was with George Bush, and it's going to be exactly the same as it was with Bill Clinton. Do you understand that George W. Bush campaigned on we're not going to police the world the way Bill Clinton did? Bill Clinton looked like a Boy Scout in policing the world next to George W. Bush.
Right.
And so Barack Obama has a Nobel Peace Prize and is holding a Nobel Peace Prize nominee in prison.
Mm-hmm.
The hypocrisy runs so deep.
Well, it does with that. It does.
With all of it.
I mean, with all of it, but I mean, there's no way to defend that one, right? We got
there's no way to
Prize
defend it.
winner
That's what I'm
with
saying to you.
Nobel Peace Prize nominee.
That's what I'm saying to you. You have to look past it. Okay, look. We've agreed tonight you have to look past necessarily black and white because we're all together. Let's look past Republican and Democrat. We're all people. They're just labels. Everything's a label.
It's a label. It's no question. It's just a label.
Everything's a label, and everybody wants to feel
everybody
secure.
wants to feel
Everybody
secure.
wants to feel,
No doubt. No question. Everybody wants to feel like, well, I'm with this group, so
right. They feel validated. All human beings want are validation.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what it is.
Validation, no question.
They're in their group, and they feel validated for what they feel. And you know what? That will make the most hate out of people.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to feel like you belong to something. You do belong to something. Everybody out there belongs to something. You belong to the human race. Every single one of us belongs to the same race. We were put on this planet to love one another. And it's absolutely insane that we look at each other and go, ugh, I hate you because of bogus BS. You watch a different TV channel than me, or you believe this, or you believe that, or you're crazy. You know, it happens in the libertarian community all the time. You look at 9/11 and go, well, I don't know about that building number 7, and they're going to sit there and judge you on it. Everybody wants to just cut down the division until they're in their little niche, and they want to be in their corner, and these are my people. And you know what? We're all the same people. You know, everybody has to get over being,
one thing or the other.
Exactly. It's absolutely like the human race is their own worst enemy.
Right.
They sit there and cut corners, and I'm this guy, and I'm going to stand in my corner with my gun, come at me. Yeah, whether you're a politician, whether you live down the street in Gate City, everybody's in their corner with their gun saying, come at me.
Right.
And everybody has to get over that.
Let's get over.
We're all the same thing. We're all the same people. As soon as we, as a human race, come together, get over our petty, ridiculous differences,
right,
and work together, do you know what we could accomplish? Because there have been people that have been on this planet that have said these exact same things, and they've had bullets put in their brain. Dr. King said this stuff. Malcolm X said it for a brief short of time, and Louis Farrakhan will tell you, he got out of line.
Right, there's no question. Yeah,
right.
That was well said, and I would just say that the point is that we're all one human race. At the end of the day, we are all one people, and whatever differences separate us, in the end, they sort of level themselves out. Because my point earlier was this: you just take for example myself. You know, I have some liberal views and I have some conservative views. That's just the way it is. You know, at the end of the day, I don't consider myself a Democrat or a Republican. You know, I consider myself somebody who is for what's right and for what's fair and just. You know, and unfortunately for us, that's not what we've been getting out of our political elites and some of our plutocrats who claim to be for the people. You know, we don't.
You know as well as I do, they're not for the people; they're for themselves and their pockets.
In their pockets. And that's another thing. You know, people who are really for the people, all you got to do is take a look at the tax returns. You know
right.
what I mean? People are really for the people. You just take a look at where the money is coming from. You know, that'll tell you a lot about where they are and where their minds are.
Right, and you know, we sit here and you say, the difference of this community or that community. Well, Barack Obama, half white, half black. I'll tell you this much. As a white person and his white half, I don't think he's given two craps about the white community. I can tell you for certainty he hasn't given two craps about the black community. He doesn't care about people. He's just there as a figurehead. The same with George Bush, Bill Clinton, Bush 41, Reagan, Jimmy Carter. He at least didn't bomb people senseless. Gerald Ford, Nixon, Johnson, Kennedy. I can keep going.
Right.
At least Eisenhower warned us about the industrial complex of the military.
Of the military, right? He did warn us about the prison industrial complex.
So what I'm saying is we as a free society in the United States of America, we want to be free. We have 5% population of the world, and we have 25% of the prison population in this country. And why is that? Because of division. Because there's people saying, well, you're smoking this or you're doing this. Everything's division.
Nobody's... How much of that number, and we haven't done, to cut you off, because you're making a good point. That number is for some of it, well, not some of it. I wonder how much of it is for petty crimes. How much of it is
to have 25% of the world's prison population? I'm going to go out here on a limb and say that's a lot.
Right.
It's not. China has 1 billion people.
Right.
We have, is it 400 million now? 350?
350. It's
somewhere
teetering.
In there.
It's teetering. So it's always teetering somewhere around 350.
But anyways, thank you so much for joining the show tonight with my co-host Thunderbird. It was absolutely a great show.
It was a pleasure.
joining the Levon tomorrow night. We will see you next Tuesday.
I'ma let them know, through the stereo. Yo, here we go,